Coming up on this episode of DL Weekly, see the inside of It's a Small World holiday as it's being installed, a new peek into Toon Town.
Trader Sam's has been very busy. Disney Plus, early access to some items. We finish our talk with Mel and more. DL Weekly starts now.
Buenos dias, señorita. My siestas are getting shorter and shorter. Oh, look at all the people listening. Welcome to DL Weekly's Enchanted Podcast. Hey, Tag and Teresa, mi amigos. Pay attention, it's showtime.
Hello and welcome to this episode of DL Weekly for the week of November 2nd, 2022. I'm Tag Bushman.
And I'm Teresa Urban. Thank you to Carolyn C. and Nicole D. for becoming official weekly tiers on our Patreon. Our supporters get some pretty fun perks like DL Weekly swag, bonus content, and access to our Discord community. We are getting into the holiday swing of things. We were just talking with the community managers. Be on the lookout if you are a weekly tier that we are going to have a Friendsgiving event in November, and we also have an ornament exchange happening in December. So extra fun stuff to celebrate the holidays. And we also want to give a special thank you to Lisa A., Kimberly S., Lane E., and Lee S. for your continued support. If you would like some more Disney magic in your day, head on over to dlweekly.net/support to join.
Well, you know, another thing that we do every year is with the holidays quickly approaching, we send out holiday cards to all of our supporters. Doesn't matter what level you are at. We do send those out to everybody. So we're going to do that again this year at every level. So if you currently are a supporter on Patreon, log into the Patreon site and make sure that your address is up to date so that you get your card. If you'd like to get a postcard from us, head on over to dlweekly.net/support and become an official weekly tier to get on the list. We do this every year. Tons and tons of postcards we end up sending out. But to make the most of the money and stuff, please make sure your address is updated because we get every month when we send some stuff, when we do like the
perks and
the anniversary
gifts.
Perks. So we usually get like one or two back. So this is a great time of year to go on and make sure your address is updated and you don't miss out.
The other thing, too, is if you are a supporter at the $1 level, Patreon does not require you to add your address. So you can put like a note on your account with your address. Unfortunately, there's not really a field to put your address. But if you put your address on Patreon, we'll get you one of those cards because we like to spoil our supporters. So now let's get to the news.
Well, Halloween just wrapped up and Disneyland is already in full swing to get things ready for the holidays. Tony Cabrera of ABC 7 News was able to visit It's a Small World overnight to see the changes taking place to prepare for It's a Small World holiday. On his TikTok, he can be seen walking through the flume in the attraction, which has been drained, and talking about the decorations. One interesting piece of information is that the holiday decorations are hidden behind black curtains in the attraction. It's a Small World holiday opens on November 10th of this year. To see the video, check out the link in our show notes.
This was so cool. It's very rare, right, that Disney allows people to kind of peek behind the curtain to see kind of how the magic is made. So the fact that they were like, yeah, come on in, walk through the dry flume. Guess where we store the holiday decorations? They're right back there. It was very cool. First of all, just to kind of see it in the transformation stage, not seeing it solidly It's a Small World or solidly It's a Small World holiday. And he's like walking around back in areas that are, places that are just outside the flume that you can see that people can walk. It's crazy, just crazy. The other cool thing too, this just closed not that long ago. They've got quite a few things up in there already. So it was interesting to see kind of how quickly they're able to do this stuff too. So I don't know. This is something that's ridiculous, but I'm probably going to watch it on repeat.
What's fun is he even gets really excited and talks about how great his job is for being able to go in and do these type of things, which I think is super cool. But I was really surprised that some of the decoration stuff are just like hidden in the like they don't go to a warehouse anywhere.
Way to utilize your space. January is getting closer and closer, and with it, the grand opening of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. For guests to get to the attraction, some parts of Toon Town will need to be completed. Currently, the walkway that leads into the land is nearing completion. The land seems to have a lot more trees planted than before as well. Gadget's Go Coaster has been repainted, Donald's boat is down to the metal studs on its first floor, and Goofy's Garden is well on its way to becoming a play area. We were able to find some really great aerial shots that Mice Chat shared on their site this week. Of course, link is in our show notes if you would like to kind of take a peek to see where the progress is at Toon Town.
Yeah, this looks... well, first of all, we knew that with Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway opening in January that there's going to have this path up, and I guess I had forgotten about it. And so seeing these new aerial photos of it, if you look at a couple of these photos we have linked in the show notes, it's really interesting how close the path and entrance is to the front of the El Capitan Theater, where it will be connecting with that attraction. But looking around the rest of the land, I mean, it looks here like they even repainted around what was Gadget's Go Coaster. I like this. I like that there's all of this activity happening, and it seemed like when it closed that it was so far away, but somehow time has done the thing time does, and it has flown by, and before we know it, Toon Town will be back open for everybody.
I don't know, because I'm also looking at these aerial photos, because it's still the land of dirt. There is no pavement going on. It's the only things that are there, things that had been there previous. Some of the things that had been there previous, the big things. So like Goofy's house, Donald's boat, those big things. But other than that, it's lots of dirt. Yes, there are new trees. Great. We love that there's new trees. But it feels like the date is quickly approaching, and I'm trying to figure out how they're going to have it show ready for the opening of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, because it feels like there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. So best of luck to them.
Yeah, they'll get it done.
I know they will. They'll work their Disney magic, but still.
I'm excited, though. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. I wonder when they're going to start cast member previews for it.
The marquee looks like it's all pretty much done. It looks like it could go, if it weren't for the land itself.
Right.
The building looks like it's ready to open any day, but it's everything around it that's needing to have a little more attention and get caught up.
Right. Well, Trader Sam's Enchanted Tiki Bar is usually a hoppin' place to be, but even more so recently. First, a second edition gargoyle mug was released just before Halloween. This is the fourth version of this mug to be released, the others being two from Club 33 and another Trader Sam's version. Well, this version is glazed in teal. In addition to the tiki mug, the bar closed for two separate mixology classes at 4:30 and 7 p.m. The classes were not officially announced by Disney, but word spread quick and they sold out. The classes were $202 after tax and gratuity, and taught guests how to make the new Gothic Jungle cocktail and the disquieting Metamorphosis drinks. There were also assorted eats, and one of the tiki mugs were included with the class.
I wish I could have been someone to attended this, because this sounds so cool, so fun. First of all, this tiki mug, love it. Absolutely love it.
It's cute.
It's like Tag mentioned, it's the Gothic looking gargoyle from the Haunted Mansion, and he's holding his little candlesticks. I love this color. I love this teal color. It's fantastic. And then how fun would it be to do a mixology class at Trader Sam's? Trader Sam's has delicious drinks. It'd be so fun to learn the recipes right from the bartenders and skippers there, to then be able to potentially try and recreate these at home. But come on, how fun.
Right?
How fun. I love it. I just love this so much.
There is so much that was involved with this, with the tiki mugs and the mixology. It looks fun. Like they had this whole little setup of all the measurements and everything to kind of do this. I don't know. I don't think I've ever made. Well, I've mixed some drinks in my time, but nothing like this. This looks pretty exciting. Man, these tiki mugs. I feel like
it's so good.
I feel like the tiki mugs are something that I would become a collector of, but they're so difficult to get. Because I feel like there's always...
They're so great. That's why they do such a good job. This was surprising to me because for some reason, call me crazy. 100%. You can call me crazy. But for $202 to have this private mixology class at Trader Sam's learning 2 drinks, and I'm assuming getting those 2 drinks. They had like food available, and you got one of these tiki mugs. That price with the tiki mug, if $202 for all of that,
that's not bad.
That seems like about right for Disney pricing on a thing like that. So to include one of the tiki mugs in this as well,
and not have to like have the hassle and all that.
The hassle of trying to wait in line and get it. I love it. I am very jealous of all the people and very happy for all the people that were able to get to do this experience.
If Disney didn't announce it, how did anybody even find out about this? That's what I want to know.
Word of mouth. Maybe they just had like some little things here and there, and it wasn't like this big like, hey, guess what? I'm sure they had some announcement on some level, but not maybe the fanfare of like, say, Oogie Boogie Bash or something like that.
Of course.
So cool. So cool. Well, fans of Star Wars characters Count Dooku and Qui-Gon Jinn will like this next bit of news. Their lightsabers are now available on Shop Disney and will be arriving in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge later this fall.
So I don't know if you've been watching the Tales of the Jedi show that's on Disney Plus, but
I have not.
It's like 6 shorts, I want to say, and so far it has been chronicling the Count Dooku, who was a Jedi, who was the master of Qui-Gon Jinn. So they kind of have been covering how Dooku, so far from what I've seen, I have not seen all the episodes, but kind of how over time certain things have happened that made Count Dooku kind of switch like he was in the movies and the prequels. So the fact that these lightsabers are coming out, great. I've always liked Count Dooku's because it's got that curved kind of light to it. It's really super cool. Yeah, no word on when they'll be in the park. They just said this fall. Well, this fall's coming to a close soon.
Yeah. And as soon as I saw this bit of news, I thought of you instantly because way back when the Legacy lightsabers first started, you and probably Vern and James, because I wouldn't have been in on this conversation, we're talking about like what character lightsabers would you like to see come to the parks and would you like to be able to purchase? And I feel like Count Dooku was one of the ones that you had mentioned. So as soon as I saw this, I'm like, there it is. It is.
I swore that there was a Count Dooku hilt somewhere because I swear I played with one in Doc Ondar's, but I'm wondering if it's like if there's something different about it.
Maybe.
So anyway, I'm excited that they've come out with one of these things. And then of course Qui-Gon's. I don't think I've seen Qui-Gon's lightsaber anywhere. So Disney Plus subscribers have received early access to 2 more Legacy lightsabers on shopdisney.com this week. The Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi Battle of the Heroes Legacy lightsaber set is available now to Disney Plus subscribers for $375. The set includes both lightsabers inside of a collectible case with a black and red design reminiscent of Mustafar, where the epic battle between the two took place. The set is a limited edition of 5,000.
Ooh, that's cool. So again, I'm not one to know much about these, so I can't comment too much. But the thing that really caught my eye is the box.
Of course.
Is the collectible box that these lightsaber hilts come in.
$375 for the box.
But I don't think I would spend $375 for the box, but I mean for the box set. Not just for the box. It's not a $375. When you said that, like, that sounds like a $375 box. Disney pricing, you never know sometimes, right? But that seems a little much. Anyways, this is not something I would spend money on, but they look cool.
The build quality on these is just fantastic. They've got some, our link in our show notes has some zoomed in photos that Disney has put on there. And these things are machined to a stunning degree and they look really amazing. And the box does look pretty cool. It's got some airbrush writing on it. And what an awesome collector set for folks that are big Star Wars fans. I'll have to ask producer James what he thinks of this because I feel like this would be something that he would like. Not that he'll spend $375 for it, but I think he would enjoy this.
There are some other Disney Plus subscriber early access perks on Shop Disney now too. We've got some stuff for the Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. There's a Black Panther collectible mask. There's a World of Wakanda Artist Series puzzle and an Artist Series jacket, along with the Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi Battle of the Heroes Legacy lightsabers. There's also a Legacy lightsaber dark saber set.
The dark saber's cool.
Yeah, there's a Ahsoka Tano special edition
doll.
Dark
saber, out of curiosity?
And an Ahsoka Tano Legacy lightsaber hilts set. Let's look at
because the dark saber.
How much the dark saber? $249.
I wish it wasn't $249, but I think that comes with the blade.
Yes.
So the dark saber is pretty cool. Are they already sold out on a bunch of these things?
Some of these things are sold out already. Yes.
Oh,
which
the
is
Anakin
wild.
Skywalker set is sold out.
Some things that are for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. There's a Marvel Hero Replica Captain Carter's shield, Doctor Strange cloak for adults, and the very, very popular Scarlet Witch ear headband for adults that we have seen in the parks, but it's special just for Disney Plus subscribers now. And then there's also some fun t-shirts to celebrate Disney Pixar's release of Lightyear and Frozen.
Pretty cool. This is obviously the rumored prelude to their kind of Amazon Prime-like subscription service that has been rumored that Disney is eventually going to come out with. It's going to include Disney Plus and some discounts and stuff that you can get doing shopping and stuff like that. So be interesting to see how that all works out.
This
the cloak is only
cool.
$99.
The cloak is very, very cool.
Wow, that's way cheaper than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's cool. That's super cool. Like, if you were a big Doctor Strange fan,
oh yeah,
how cool! So neat. I like it. I like it. Very fun.
Your attention, please. DL Weekly Trivia is now leaving for a grand circle tour of the Magic Kingdom, with stops at New Orleans Square, Mickey's Toon Town, and Tomorrowland. All weekly tiers for...
Welcome to Trivia Land. How we feeling tonight? You got some great answers up in those heads of yours?
I hope so.
I don't know if they're answers to the questions you are going to pose, but I do have some answers.
All right. Well, I feel like I may have taken it easy on you tonight, but we'll find out. Of course. Yeah. So today being... we are recording this episode on November 1st, 2022, which is Dia de los Muertos. So, of course, Pixar's Coco is based on Dia de los Muertos. Your first question tonight, do you know what year was the first year that Disney California Adventure celebrated Coco in the park?
Celebrated Coco?
When did Coco come out?
I'm going to say 2017.
Is that when Coco came out?
Nope, but I'm not sure when Coco came out, but that's when I got these Coco ears that I'm wearing. So that's
But did they do a celebration in the park? I'm going to say 2018, just to be different.
After.
Just to be different.
All right. 2018 and 2017, those are your final answers?
Yes.
All right. At the west end of Paradise Gardens Park, near Goofy's Sky School, is where the official Coco celebration is held. Do you know what they named this area for the time being?
I do. It's the Plaza de la Familia.
I would concur.
Okay.
Sorry, Teresa's
I got really excited, and I was trying not to yell, so I probably said that a little too quiet. Plaza de la Familia.
You said it very suspensefully. All right, so Plaza de la Familia, is that your final answer?
Yes.
All right. And your third question tonight. Which characters can you have a meet and greet with during the Coco celebration?
Well, Miguel.
Miguel. Just Miguel, I think.
Like, what do you mean by during? Like, not during the just meet and
Like,
greet.
if you're in DCA and you're at the Coco celebration at Paradise Gardens Park,
okay,
in the area that you've identified as Plaza de Familia, and I'm not going to confirm nor deny if that's the correct answer.
Sure.
You could have meet and greet with character and or characters.
Is Dante
not going to
there?
confirm or deny if there's more than one.
There's a Dante statue. Does that count? And there's a Hector statue. Do the statues count, or are we talking about, like...
Do you count a Mickey statue as a character?
No.
I mean, it's a character, but I wouldn't count it as a character meet and
Well,
greet.
but see, that's interesting because, like, we've taken pictures with Machiavelli Was that a character? Would we have counted that?
I don't think I would.
That was a photo op, not a
that's
character.
a photo
meet and
op. That's a good point. Good point.
Yeah, so I'm just going to go with Miguel.
So Miguel, final answer.
Miguel, yep.
All right. And your fourth question. Besides Paradise Gardens, where else in DCA can you see characters celebrating Dia de los Muertos?
Oh, in Cars Land.
In DCA specifically, was the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Cars Land. Because
in
there's...
Luigi's, right?
Nope. Ramon's
House of Body Art. Yep,
has an ofrenda for Doc. Actually,
that's right. And don't they also have
Land?
the like cocoa-y looking like Dia de los Muertos cars that they put?
So there's a Sugar Skull car in front of Ramon's.
Okay.
And then inside is where the ofrenda is.
Okay.
And then if we want bonus points, can we tell you where you can celebrate in Disneyland?
Or if you could be patient.
Oh, okay.
Your fifth and final question for the night. Moving across the Esplanade, where can you find Dia de los Muertos celebrated in Disneyland?
Frontierland. It's in front of...
It's like a park. It's like the Zocalo Park.
That's it. Yep.
Right by the Rancho del Zocalo.
Is that your final answer?
Yes.
Final answer.
All right. Well, that's all the questions I have for you tonight regarding Dia de los Muertos. Listeners, how do you think they did? Do you think they got all the answers right? How do you think you did listening at home? Stick around and we will find out together.
For our discussion topic this week, we're finishing our conversation with Mel McGowan. Enjoy.
I'm glad that Universal went that direction because Universal in general, before that, in my opinion, they kind of did their attractions. There was like a Back to the Future attraction that turned into like a Simpsons attraction, and there's a Jurassic Park attraction.
Ride the movies. That was a big enough idea.
Yeah. But man, when they went, and I would say at the time, surpassed Disney at their own game for this land, and it was so popular. I feel like Disney sometimes can rest on their laurels and they think like, oh, well, we've been doing this a long time. We're very successful. We have 10 money printing machines just right here in the back, and it just sits there and prints money all day long and, whatever. But then you get like Universal, who's like, well, guess what? We're going to take one of your money printing machines and we're going to add it to some of ours. And now people realize that they don't just have to spend their money with you because we can also provide a great experience. So the fact that you bring up like the Cedar Fair and Knott's Berry Farm, which is owned, I think, by Cedar Fair, I think it's great that those properties are also starting to try to do some theming or some neighborhoods because they're great parks too. Like they get overshadowed because people think Disney and Universal, they're kind of like the big titans.
Well, I want to correct that just because it's not that they're starting. I mean, Walt Disney was stealing ideas from Walt Not back in the day. I mean, Ghost Town was and still is one of the most immersive theme lands. I mean, the nooks and crannies and just the number of different streets and side alleys. I mean, that's pretty awesome stuff still.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree. Definitely. I agree. But but in the consciousness of the visitors, it kind of, people were like, oh, Disney. Yeah. So I really like the fact because from us, we live in the Midwest, like we don't have a Disneyland or a Universal near us. So it's kind of like, our thing that we go to is we've got what's up in Minneapolis? There's like is that a Cedar?
Great America up there.
Great America.
Flags, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, that's what we got. I've been to Cedar Point in Sandusky, which I think is great. It was a very
Classic
clean
amusement park. Yeah.
It was so clean.
Well, like, those Midwestern parks you got are no laughing matter in terms of like just critical mass of like the roller coasters and, and again, Cedar Point. I mean, that is a resort. I mean, it's not just an amusement park with the historic hotel breakers and the waterfront and the collection of rides and even
location
the little trail that they did back there. That's a whole other thing. There's a book that, one of my friends, he actually produces our podcast, the Themed Attraction podcast he wrote called Imagineering an American Dreamscape. So I got to write a chapter on the design at the end of it. It's a story that a lot of fans don't know about, but there's an old MGM Hollywood art director named Randall Duell that intentionally never stepped foot into a Disneyland theme park, but he designed almost every theme park besides Disneyland throughout the 60s and 70s, including Great America, including a lot of the first iteration of the Universal Studios Hollywood Entertainment Village. I'm pretty sure his firm did work for Cedar Point as well. But the way that they took the principles of Hollywood backlots and, very much along the lines of the original Disneyland art directors took those simple principles. But one of the things I appreciated about them was they were working for local real estate developers that wanted to bring Disneyland to their hometown. So they didn't have these globally recognized IPs. So they used the local stories, the history of, what are the Six Flags that have had dominion or that have flown over Texas. So we'll have a Mexican area and a Confederate area and a French area, just as an example. And that was the roots. And again, Great America was the Marriott Corporation trying to get in the family entertainment business and hiring the best. And he was the best at the time. And if you ever go back and look at either the original park maps or video footage, or look at their opening day special, it's very, very Magic Kingdom 70s Disney-esque from the quality of the entertainment and the mix of food and the emphasis on quality and cleanliness. And, again, they didn't have Pirates of the Caribbean, but they had Orland's Place and they had the full scale cable cars running down the streets and things like the double-decker Columbia were, really just beautiful set pieces, for a kind of almost a Hollywood musical production,
Wow.
So I'm going to go kind of left field.
Oh.
So since you had a lot to do with, the design of Downtown Disney and, what that is today, what are your thoughts of how they are kind of reimagining that far west end with what they're kind of like widening
that retro-y kind of
retro feel and the different design that they're going with that area? What are your kind of thoughts on that?
Well, the concept of the Downtown Disney, it's kind of subtle, but there was kind of almost an arts and crafts, Old Town Pasadena district, right? As you get closer to the park, the idea was as you got closer to Disneyland, it was almost like you're fertilizing with more and more pixie dust, right? So it gets more greener, more fantastical. Look at the light fixtures next time you go, because they go from kind of arts and crafts light fixtures to more Alice in Wonderlandy kind of organic, kind of light fixtures. And the paving pattern has something that I call this Vine Street pattern of these vines that turn into planters and fountains, and because it was almost the story was this underground water current that was about the spaces between the buildings, because we knew we had a diverse list of tenants and everything from ESP, the different buildings were always going to be take on their own zone, but there was definitely that cohesive arts and crafts district, and then you go into more of an Art Deco Wiltern Theater kind of Art Deco district around Catal and that area and the kind of the wine garden, and as you got closer to the Disneyland Hotel, I just called it a little bit of a big box mashup, frankly, because it was a design challenge. We had, Rainforest wanted to do their Rainforest thing. ESPN Zone wanted to do their Baltimore Fieldhouse. AMC wanted to do an Art Deco thing, the Latin Club, so it was kind of a eclectic. We were really leaning on that area development or the paving and the spaces between the buildings to be a little bit of a cohesive story, but it definitely got more cohesive the further you got to Disneyland. So frankly, the current vision of, that area being essentially a mid-century modern Disneyland hotel, when we did that 20 years ago, I don't think there was quite the love, affinity, nostalgia for mid-century modern, what I call Jetsonian design. You got to remember, they were forcing all the classic 50s Googie motels, the cheesy theme, the Jack and Jill, the Heidi Inn, to tear down those glorious neon pole signs, because they wanted it to look like Irvine, right? And then on the other side of the fence, they put up the Cozy Cone Motel, which is kind of an homage to all those old 50s strip motels.
Right.
But again, now with the passage of time, the 1950s and that mid-century vibe, there's even more nostalgia. So, obviously the Disneyland Hotel doubled down on recreating that mid-century vibe of tiki bars and, the retro Tomorrowland, the old monorail and the old Disneyland side. So it kind of makes sense now that you would create this kind of mid-century modern low-rise bridge, which, ironically is exactly what was there before we started tearing out the Disneyland Hotel and putting Downtown Disney there, because, the original Disneyland Hotel lobby is where the monorail that sat on the second floor of the original hotel lobby. And that was a classic mid-century modern, the Erector set, William Pereira Luckman, classic Palm Springs, mid-century modern Oasis. So in a lot of ways, it's funny how the cycle is kind of coming back, but I love Palm Springs, mid-century modern, and I think it's actually a pretty good fit. So I
just Google Street Viewed as you were talking and went through Downtown Disney, and I have never paid attention to the lights.
You will now.
Well, I did. I went through and you're right.
Look at the paving. Look at the vines.
Yeah.
Yep.
The other thing, I real quick, is the same architect that we work with, a Boston architect named Elkis Manfredi, did the architecture for Downtown Disney. They went on to do Americana Brand, the Grove. Again, taking Disney on the road. But the great things about those spaces is, of course, that idea of this organic green commons kind of space, right? That we were missing because we were focused on this kind of almost meandering linear pedestrian spine, right? Because we just had such a distance to connect stuff to. And again, that's something I think that's going to be a great add, is to actually have that open space breathing area, between the two areas. So it's less of a linear urban spine themed as a garden to actually have a garden. So that'll be great.
Yeah, I
was just looking. The planters are even leaf shaped.
You didn't notice the planters being leaf shaped before?
No, I just thought that they were cool shaped. Like, there's a fountain that's even leaf shaped. This is
subtle.
even more.
Yeah, I keep wanting to give credit. Martha Schwartz.
Wow.
And she's kind of like the celebrity star architect, landscape architect that Disney fans. If you look at Martha Schwartz, ASLA, you'll see some cool stuff. But there's so many contemporary artists, architects, designers that don't fit that traditional immersive Disney Imagineering mode, but they're still just what they can add to the built environment. So I love that sense of fusion and kind of it's just that blend. Sometimes you're literal with your spatial storytelling. Sometimes it's more poetic, abstract, more of a metaphor. I'd say that Vine Street was kind of one of those pretty subtle metaphors. It doesn't hit you over the head, but there's enough layering with the environmental graphics, the signage, the light fixtures, the patterns, the type of plants that really subtly weaves together a pretty architecturally disconnected, diverse, context, but it still creates that sense of place. So,
wow.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Another question.
We're learning so much.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't think we'd talk so much about this. Is why we don't have pre-done questions, because
I'll send the design degree in the mail.
Gone all of these different things. It's amazing.
Wow.
So
after your final exam.
Yeah. So a question for you. I've wondered this for a long time. You may not know the answer, but I feel like you might be somebody who might be able to helpfully, sort of answer this. Why, other than money, which is probably the real answer, why has Disney, we've had these security tents up since, 9/11, basically. Why has Disney not built like a themed building that goes with everything else to have these security things? Because they're still very temporary, and it's like, I don't know. It just seems like something they're not going to get rid of. Why would they not build like the turnstile theming and the ticket booth theming? Why would they not do that for their security?
It was planned and designed. And we talked about those politics early on, but, we talked about that Eastern Gateway, on the Western side, there was a Grand Central station, basically the monorail station, the hotel complex that would have handled all that vertical mixed use and entry point. And so I think you're going to probably see all that with this upcoming redo, because Disney definitely gets sense of arrival, the importance of that, and you're definitely operating in kind of a longer than necessary interim condition, but basically just a course correction, change of plans when they had that weird pause pre-COVID.
Gotcha.
Sure.
Yeah, because I used to, back when DCA, right after I went to Disneyland the first time after DCA opened, I've always stayed on Harbor, so I always come in that way, and I loved the theming of the bus area of all things, because you had these like large like cones that were
that was Martha Schwartz again. It was called Madcap Mania. She had this crazy take on Route 60. She was from Boston, kind of this Harvard. So for her, that was this interpretation of the crazy California freeways and car culture. And It was almost her take on Cars Land before the Cars movie. And it was very tongue in cheek and kind of whimsical. They've kind of, I think, cut out a lot of that original wackiness, but the boldness and pattern and color.
It reminded me of, because of how big those cones are, it reminded me of Toy Story 2, where they're all under the cones and they're like walking across the street.
Exactly.
But it's just, I don't know. I just think, and we just found this out like a year and a half ago. We talked to somebody that there's a road that goes under and is parallel to harbor that we didn't know ever existed. And I'm a big satellite view person, and I don't know how I never noticed it on the satellite view. But the amazing use of like trees, you know, those big trees and shrubs to just cover it, like you would never know.
Right.
It's amazing.
And again, if that kind of intentionally and thought went into, you know, cities and urban design and the public realm, you know, how elevated would our downtowns and our place. And again, that's the kind of stuff we've been able to take on the road. I literally was in a conversation, you know, we're master planning a destination multi-park complex, and they were deciding, you know, what, if any, of the services to put underground, like the utilidor.
Oh.
And I'm like, hey, it's definitely the best, but not everyone can afford it. In fact, barely anyone chooses to afford it. But, you know, we actually looked at that specific tunnel and said, hey, you can still do perimeter servicing. There's some intercore circulation you can do, but then you can kind of connect things and have the pedestrian midway still not be aware at all that you're traversing stuff in between them.
That's crazy.
Just, totally nerdy from a master planning thing. Great America, look at that on a satellite view sometime, and you'll find this unique center spine of service where they access through similar service tunnels.
Which Great America? I know there's a lot of...
Both California and Illinois were designed by the same... This is trippy. They were both designed to originally open the same day, same year. So same blueprint, same elevation. So imagine if Disneyland Magic Kingdom opened the same year.
Wow.
I always had this fantasy, how cool would it be to fall asleep on a bench in Hometown Square of one of the parks and someone like wake you up on the bench. And how long would it take me to realize I'm not in California, I'm in Illinois? They've deviated since then, because now one park's owned by Cedar Fair, the other one's owned by Six Flags. So they look radically different now, but back in the day. So but originally that service spine was kind of a unique innovation where the park is a loop with, instead of a lagoon or a lake in the middle, they did this really efficient service back of house spine right down the middle. That really works great from an operational and, again, from a cost and infrastructure to have trunk lines down the middle where you don't have to tear up the streets to access stuff. And it really is kind of genius. So again, just from a master planning perspective, I'm a nerd when it comes to, efficiency and flow. And, there's the creative stuff, and then there's how do we spend as much money as possible on the rides and the fun stuff and not have to spend it on plumbing and infrastructure lines. And that's one of the ways of doing it.
This is really super neat. It goes right down the middle, and you wouldn't even, And then even the paths to go over it is just kind of like a wooden, like
that was the transition.
Covered bridge.
That's the portal. Instead of one tunnel, at the entrance to Disneyland, every land through a covered bridge and a portal that has the name of the land. So you kind of effectively know that you're leaving one realm, entering into another zone. And again, I call it the dual loop. He was an advocate of creating a loop so that you never miss anything. You would originally spend your day traversing that loop. And, of course, World Showcase sort of has that. It's different than the hub and spoke. And the reality is most of the modern parks, including Disneyland, have turned into kind of a modification. You could call it hub and spoke, but it's really kind of a hub and spoke within a loop. And so I kind of think of it as more of a flower pattern. You're kind of, you're able to kind of keep on looping and ending up back at the same spot. But anyways, nerdy, master planning, theme park stuff.
That's amazing.
Wow, I'm just looking at I looked at the Illinois one first, and then I came back and I looked at the California one, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is very similar with the here. Yep, here it is. That's spine.
Yep, the same.
Wow. I'm sorry, I'm nerding out with you. People listening to this interview are like, what are they going on about?
This same guy that no one's heard of, he not only did those two parks open the same year, Libertyland, Elvis's favorite park, Memphis, Tennessee, mini theme park inspired by Tivoli Gardens, Colonial Land, Frontierland, Turn of the Century Land.
Wow.
Opened in 1976 as well, all in time for the bicentennial. So again, who designs three theme parks all under construction at the same time, opening the same year, and nobody knows the guy's name? It's
wow.
And this is before email,
right?
That's the other thing that's crazy is you're doing all this pre-internet.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing. What was the one near Elvis?
Oh, unfortunately, shut down now. It was called Liberty Land. It was on the Mid-South Fairgrounds, so it's all been wiped out. Unfortunately, governments don't really operate and run theme parks very effectively, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, where I used to live in Northern California, and we had it was Marine World, and then the city of Vallejo took it over, and then and so they did some stuff, and then they ended up selling it. I think it might have been to Cedar Fair, and they put a bunch of roller coasters in, and of course, like even SeaWorld's struggling with this now. With any parks that have animals, are kind of getting rid of that aspect of their operations. But it was just so interesting because you're right. When a city takes over something, it's like we know how to run a city. We don't know how to run an amusement park. But somehow we've ended up
park
here
now. Yeah, I think Six Flags Discovery Kingdom now. One of our guys, Bruce Green, worked on the master plan for that. I think pre Six Flags, but the
cool
guy
park,
the guy that ran the park and that hired Bruce to master plan it ended up going to do Ocean Park that outperformed Hong Kong Disneyland. He did he did Warner Brothers Movie World, then he went to Ocean Park. And then he's Universal Beijing, Tom Merman. So he's kind of a rock star operator. So started humbly with Marine World Africa USA.
Wow.
Doris Woodward, one of our themed entertainment associations. She just won the Buzz Price Lifetime Achievement Award. Again, just an Imagineering hero. She did Shanghai Disneyland's Castle. She just did the redo on the Hong Kong Disneyland Castle. Got her start at that same park.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's funny that Hong Kong Disneyland castle. First of all, I loved the fact that Hong Kong Disneyland was modeled off the original Disneyland. I love the fact that there was like a duplicate of Disneyland somewhere else. And
by the way, I was there right after opening. It was the closest that I would have felt to getting to go to Disneyland, in the early years. So it was pretty magical. It was cool.
Well, and it's got the mountain range in the background. That's just a beautiful escape for that. But then they decided they were going to do this thing, and I was like, I don't know how to feel about this. Why couldn't they just leave it Sleeping Beauty?
Surgery.
Yeah.
But actually, it turned out it's really grown on me, and I really like it now. I mean, the Paris Castle will always be, until they build something more beautiful, the most beautiful Disney castle ever.
Well, my friend Tom Morris thanks you because he designed the Paris Castle, and
it's beautiful.
I think I love the parks being different and unique takes on each other. Tom actually designed Hong Kong Disneyland as well. He was the executive creative director for the original Hong Kong Disneyland, but he really had like a half park budget, and so it was frankly just more cost effective to use the original 1953 Disneyland blueprints for Main Street and the castle. But for me to be able to take my son through and, for him to just experience his first Disney park running around that place and to see that magic transfer, from mid-century America to Hong Kong in, 2005. I forgot what year it was, 2005. Yeah, it was pretty amazing that it still translates.
Yeah, I want to go because I feel like they kept all the cool stuff about Disneyland Main Street, right? But they've got like pavers and stuff for Main Street instead of just like the cracked concrete that we have or whatever. But like I think that's a plus. I'm like, that's really awesome. So I don't know. We'll eventually, the goal, bucket list, hit all the parks. I've only done World, Land, and Paris.
Well, you're on your way to winning the Disney bingo. You just gotta,
there you go.
A few more to go. I will say when you go to Hong Kong, take a look. Even the paving, changes the perspective. It really changes the sense of scale. And even though it's the exact same height and elevations, and with the castle, it's different now. But yeah, it really does. Something as subtle as that color change on the ground, it really does change your sense of scale.
Huh.
Very cool. So I kind of want to go back so we talked about some of your design work with Disney, and we've talked about what you're currently doing with Storyland Studios. What was the point, or what was kind of the spark to kind of make that leap and found your own company to be able to do this, to kind of bring this to people outside of the Disney universe?
That's a great question.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I thought I won the lottery, getting to find my dream and work at Disney. I thought I'd retire there. I never had any intention. I got an offer I couldn't refuse. One of my professors, he was an adjunct professor, so he was a full-time consultant, international planning design consultant. He asked me to lead a tour of I think Chinese dignitaries or business, whatever, showing some of the work I'd done during the 10 years of brain damage at Disney is what I call it. And, on the way out to the parking lot, he basically made me an offer I couldn't refuse. It was basically doubling my salary, giving me not just one, but several projects that were each bigger than the 1,100, acre Disneyland Resort project, working with Native American tribes, working with large, Yellowstone type ranch owners to develop new towns and future cities. And I was like, wow, this is like an opportunity I just cannot pass up, because it was beyond just the scale of another theme park. And so I think that was an early prompting to kind of venture out on my own. And then again, to find a pretty awesome band of brothers those are my business partners, basically, at Storyland Studios to launch out in 2001. And I was enjoying, because at Disney I had 4 departments, 120 employees. And I thought, wow, this is just great. I'm going to just be an independent consultant, just get to draw and not have to do meetings all day. That didn't last very long before I realized, okay, to really make an impact and do projects at a larger scope and scale and complexity, and to be able to see them through, not just to be involved in the front end, whether it's concepting, creative, master plan, but to actually be able to really steward that vision through all the painful cost cutting and scope reduction, and fight for the end product. I really needed a more of a diverse, motley crew around me. And so that was really the start of Storyland Studios. And it's been an amazing ride.
When you design stuff, this sounds kind of terrible, but the thought crossed my mind while you were talking about this. Do you over kind of design knowing that, like, well, they're going to cut stuff. So if I only design to this far, they're going to cut this. So if I just go way out here and they cut it, I'll get kind of really what I wanted.
Quick answer, no.
Okay.
We've just learned through, again, trials, tribulation, but, again, the loss of credibility and trust when you go through those kind of painful. You don't do that on purpose, at least. I mean, I will say there was a history and a not so healthy culture back in the day at some stages of Imagineerings, where there was an intentional thing of, hey, if we could just con someone into believing they can afford this, for this price, it'll get greenlit. And we kind of know it really is going to be twice as much, those kind of games. But in our, business, when we're actually working for third party, clients, and when we actually care about not just getting paid to do pretty pictures and cool drawings, but actually wanting to see these experiences happen and actually, we call it experiences and designs and destinations to lift the spirit. When we actually want to see the stuff open and impact people's memories and make connections, we actually want to see it through. And to be honest with you, we just don't have the time to waste time on drawing and redrawing and value engineering and redesigning. So as much as we can kind of control, to be honest with you, we don't just start blue skying and drawing stuff unless feasibility reports have been done. And it sounds like not creative, but to be honest with you, you can be way more creative and certainly more effective if you kind of have some of those I call it the BSs of the project: budget, scope, schedule, the triangle of good, fast, and, whatever, you get that stuff figured out in the front end, then you can dream, within that. Anyways, it's just a little more of an efficient way of drawing.
That makes sense, because otherwise, if they just say, well, we want you to redesign, so say like your hometown, just redesign downtown, and they don't tell you, what your kind of goalposts are around that project. You could go huge or you could go way too small, so it's good to it's definitely good to. And
Walt Disney set this up. I mean, no one's going to accuse that guy of lacking vision, and even if it was just done to convince bankers, he commissioned Buzz Price and had him do the feasibility work. And and today in our little internal support system industry, the Themed Entertainment Association, when we give someone a Lifetime Achievement Award, whether they're a creative designer like Doris or whoever, it's not the Walt Disney Lifetime Achievement Award, it's the Buzz Price Lifetime Achievement Award. We've learned the value of designing the roller coaster map and the left and the right brain. So
knowing what you know from all of your clients and from working with Disney, this is going to be a very selfish question. Do you ever see specifically Disney, or something Disney level, Universal, whatever, having another resort in the U.S. somewhere? Or
I have no comment on that.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. We could cut that from the podcast.
I'm totally kidding. Here's the thing. The they definitely have looked into that. They've actually had false starts. I mean, the idea of, from Disney stores to Disney Quest to Club Disney's, the idea of, doing physical place-based immersive experiences, again, there's a level of when you say resort, but certainly that was looked at, right? When, from St. Louis to, Manassas, Virginia to whatever. So, there's not, even with this merger with Universal, I mean, there, Paramount, some of the major studios have been in the regional park business. So, there's no reason to not say that would completely be closed off of possibilities and likelihood. We personally are pretty excited about, some of the work we're doing within the U.S. to create at least one, if not two, new destination resorts somewhere near.
Let's hope so.
Some of you, hopefully. So.
Well, because one of the things that's come up is they talk about financial stuff and whatever, and they talk about that there's a supply and demand issue with Disney parks specifically right now, which is there's more demand than there is supply. So I'm like, well, then build more parks so you have more supply. But it seems like that's more complex than just go out and do it. You have to even when Walt Disney did Florida, he had to do all these shell companies and be really super sneaky, because if they knew Disney was doing it, the price would skyrocket.
Be so much more complex for
nowadays too. There's so much more things.
Yeah.
And the internet and everything, people pick up real quick that something's happening. But I don't know. I just hold out hope that we will have something on the scale of a Universal or a Disney World, that kind of thing, somewhere in the middle of the country to kind of spread some stuff out. Plus, it'll be closer to us. I mean, I'll still love Disneyland. I'll still go to Disneyland all the time. But it'd be nice to have something else. I mean, we have the Wisconsin Dells, but that's all water parks. Mm-hmm. So
we're working on something that hopefully would be within your. I'll just say you're in the target market radius of one of the.
Perfect. I will buy a ticket to whatever it is.
Again, to be clear, not saying it's Disney, but
right.
I think it'll be up the alley of your interest level.
That'd be awesome. I love this idea. So hopefully people. I don't know if do you want me to cut that from the podcast?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay. So,
it is interesting though with where theme parks are, because you do kind of have, the middle of the country is a little bit more of a dead space. We're a little bit more sparse when it comes to
like population centers. Yeah.
The big parks, especially, they're just
there's definitely an eastern quarter and a western quarter, and obviously, Chicago's often, but you got a lot of farmland in between the different urban centers. Yeah.
But see, then I look at it like, but there's all this farmland, which you could just buy a few farms and boom, build a whole resort destination. And I think if
you are going to see with some of the regional parks, I think they're going to. I mean, if you look at the European parks, you look at how smart they've gone with in park hotels and whether it's second gates, but I mean they've really like Fantasyland's, or I'm sorry, Europa Park's one of my childhood parks. I mean, it's a destination resort that arguably competes really well with Disney in terms of the overall quality of the experience and the quality of the immersiveness and theming. There's models of, without having 3 separate theme parks, there's ways of creating a destination resort around a really great park. And I think, some of those Midwestern parks around you, I mean, they've got a lot of land. They've got a lot of really beautiful, land, and there's more that they could do with it than just drop another big roller coaster, out in the back. But Cedar Point's already gone there with some of the resorts and hotels, Water Park Hotel. I think things like the Great Wolf Lodges and extending. They're I know SeaWorld and Hershey. I mean, they've all looked at extending the length of stay by doing their own hospitality. So I think that those lines will kind of get closer together and converge. At least more along the lines of what at least Disneyland was for most of its history, even before it was this big multi-gate destination resort,
I hope so.
Well, Mel, is there anything else that you would like to talk about or cover before we kind of wrap up? I feel like we've kind of gone all over the place, but
that's normal.
That's good though. I like it.
I'm good. Yeah, whatever you guys. I mean, we could talk. Why is Disneyland better than Disney World?
We don't have all week.
Weird.
That is one of those where, I mean, I can just tell you that the whole idea of doing the design once, build twice. the idea of Galaxy's Edge, that just, whoever was trying to save some costs from a design perspective rather than designing the right solution for that park just did a disservice to.
Yeah.
But I mean, that park in general, it's got dead ends you have to backtrack for, it's just, I don't like it, but.
We don't have our hub. We don't have our flower petals. We don't have our loops.
Don't have anything,
that's our problem.
Really. All right.
I think that's a great example of getting the power of master planning and people that really understand that, as opposed to cutting and pasting, stuff.
Yep, and just kind of we'll just plop that over there and put that over there. It'll make sense. Yeah.
Mel, it has been a wonderful discussion with you. Obviously, I think this is going to be 2 episodes worth of discussion for sure. But we've got our last question for you, which is, if you could work at Disneyland now, I mean, you probably are doing the dream job that you have, but let's just pretend you would go back to working for Disney, I guess. What would you do? The sky's the limit. It could be any job, even something you make up.
Ooh, it's something I can make up. Yeah. Well, I would ride the Skyway back and forth, along the Tinkerbell cable,
There you go.
I'm just kidding. So yeah, I mean, of the jobs I'm not making up and imagining rides that aren't there anymore, I think Mark Twain Steamboat would be a pretty sweet, I mean, again, it goes back to Walt and Lillian's anniversary celebration before the opening, as far as immersion and taking advantage of the 60 years of growth, and I've always thought that that was always one of the most immersive areas in Disneyland, in the backstretch there. And I'm kind of an introvert at heart, believe it or not. So the ability to just hit the tape, they've got that great recorded narration now. I would say Jungle Cruise skipper, but I think I'm lazy and more introverted and enjoy the view, up there in the captain's little tower there.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. And you don't have to bring anybody up there. It's wonderful.
Yeah. And talk about design. It is amazing that you were just so transported, and it is so quiet when you're on the rivers of America. You've got the train right there. There's so many things that should be
that's
loud
one of the reasons I love Peter
distracting.
Pan. Some of the opening day stuff that was so simple yet effective, of transporting you, I think is just so powerful,
Oh yeah, definitely.
So
learning lessons.
One last thing I just want to say. So if people want to know more about you, do you have social media accounts or anything like that people could follow? Does your company have something? What's your podcast?
Appreciate it. Yeah. On social media, on Instagram, I'm at Visioneer. So the word Visioneer. Mel McGowan on Twitter and Facebook. Storylandstudios.com. Definitely the main place for what we're up to these days. Storyland Studios has all of our own, social media channels there. So, but yeah, thanks so much for the opportunity to share.
Oh, well, thank you for spending all your time with us.
That's a pleasure.
Looks like we're coming in for a landing, gang. But please stay listening until trivia comes to a stop. And then you can walk to the nearest exit. Thanks for listening to the 8th wonder of the world, DL Weekly.
Welcome back to Trivia Land. How you feeling? Do you think you got them all right?
Feeling pretty good on this one.
Yeah? All right. Well, let's find out how you did. Recording this episode on November 1st, Dia de los Muertos, I decided to go with a theme and ask you questions about Dia de los Muertos in Disneyland. Starting in DCA and Pixar's Coco, I asked, what year did they first start celebrating Coco in the park? Tag said 2018, and Teresa said 2017. The correct answer that I was looking for was 2017.
Woo! Thank you, ears. Thank you, ears. Thank you, Coco ears.
Thank you, ears. That needs to be a new emoji.
Thank you, ears. Thank you, ears. Thank you, Coco ears. Also, thank you to the amazing weekly tier that gifted me these ears. This was my first ever gift from a weekly tier, and it holds a very special place in my heart.
And on your head.
And on my head.
And on your head. Hopefully that weekly tier is watching right now and can see them on your head as we speak. Your second question tonight. At the west end of Paradise Gardens Park near Goofy Sky School is where the official Coco celebration is held. Do you know what they named this area for the time being? Both of you getting the correct answer, knowing that is now called Plaza de la Familia.
Woo!
It's so cool. For those of you that haven't experienced it, Oh my gosh. I cannot recommend it enough. It is like just so like joyful. The colors are so vibrant. The decorations are amazing.
It's a great use of that space.
There's so much going on. They usually have like activities for kids. They've got different Photoshop stops. There's different like bands that play back there during this, the Mariachi Divas. And then you've got, of course, the show that they perform multiple times a day. And it's the story of Coco. It's so cool.
I enjoy it. I enjoy the show too. I wish that I want to see it again where I can be, where a stage would be great, where it was up, where you could see it easier. I definitely want to see it again more in the front row, because we were kind of in the back and couldn't see as much of the stuff. But I'll tell you, those cast members doing a fantastic job.
Amazing job.
Your third question tonight. Which characters can you have a meet and greet with during the Coco celebration? I tried to throw you off by asking which characters, plural, but you saw right through that, knowing that there's only one actual character for meet and greet, and that character is Miguel.
Woohoo! I do wish we could have more characters for meet and greets, because that movie has so many great characters.
Yeah, Hector, obviously.
Mama Imelda.
Oh, Mama Imelda. The
Dante.
twins. All of everything.
I mean, great cast of characters in that film.
Mm-hmm. We need, who's the...
Pepita?
Is it Pepita who like always wants to throw the shoe?
Oh, no,
Yeah.
Pepita's the big, like, the green... What am I trying to say? The spirit guide.
Sure, sure. No, the old lady is her mom.
Go get my shoe.
Yes.
That's, not Mama Coco. It's Mama...
Mama Imelda.
No, not Imelda. One of his grandmothers. I can't remember what her name is, but she throws her shoe and she's like, "Now go get my shoe."
Yeah, that's what I want. I want the character.
Mama Rivera. No.
Yeah.
Elena. Mama Elena. Oh, Abuelita. There you go.
Spanish for granny, abuelita.
Yep. So he doesn't say Mama Elena. It's Abuelita.
I just want her to show. I want to have a meet and greet where she throws her shoe at me.
Throws her shoe at you.
Your fourth question tonight. Besides Paradise Gardens, where else in DCA can you see characters celebrating Dia de los Muertos? Both of you knowing that is in Cars Land, where Ramon has an ofrenda honoring Doc Hudson.
Woohoo!
Look at you remembering that too. That it was Doc.
Mm-hmm.
And your fifth and final question of the night. Moving across the Esplanade, where can you find Dia de los Muertos celebrated in Disneyland? Both of you knowing right off the bat that is in Zocalo Park in Frontierland, where there's a display of two traditional ofrendas, calaveras, or sugar skulls, and an iconic figure of La Catrina.
I love the decor over in this area, too. It's just...
Wasn't this the first place that had any type of Dia de los Muertos stuff anywhere in the parks?
I think I love it. It's just so... Yes, it's like
That's
skeletons, but it's so colorful and so vibrant.
It's the least scary type of skeleton, for sure.
Yes, exactly. It's a very, It's like, I like that it's a mix because, yes, it's like skeletons and skulls, but they feel like they're very full of life still.
Yeah.
It's not like doom and gloom.
Yep.
Well, listeners, how do you feel about how they did? Are you impressed that they knew everything?
Or almost.
How did you do listening at home? Do you think that you've got some great questions that would be able to really stump them in the future instead of just giving them all the answers like I did tonight? If you think you've got a great question for them sometime, feel free to send that in to us at trivia@dlweekly.net.
Well, we will be back next week with more Disneyland news and information.
Until then, go out and enjoy the parks.
Please remain seated until the podcast comes to a complete stop and the doors have opened. Then collect your belongings, watch your head, and step carefully from the episode. On behalf of all of our crew, thanks for traveling with us. And we hope you have a happy and memorable visit here at DL Weekly.